70% here, 70% there. Your expected score under the current system, if you're 70% competent, is 49%. That's our 50% pass mark. Yeah? Now, let's see. We know expected values, don't we? Long run averages, yeah, don't apply it in one-off situations. So yes, I know there will be differences there. I'll show you a couple of them in a moment. All right? But in the long run, that's fine. Remember, I said I'm being generous there. Yeah, I think it's probably 60-65%, which would make that about 42 to 45. Yeah? So in some ways, I could argue that 50% is too hard to reflect 70%. Just depends on the exam. But that's the story, and that's where we're at just now. So that's where I'm saying to people, if we were to change that to 100%, then I'd look for a 70% pass mark. And that's what we've done with objective testing. We are now able, because we've got the short questions, we are able to test 100% of the learning outcomes. So if I want to reflect 70%, the same competence. So I'm not asking students to do more. I'm not asking them to become cleverer. I'm just changing the way in which I assess them to see whether they're 70% competent. All right? And anyway, just another thing about paper-based exams is the emphasis I had in that last line was about luck. So turning things round, same two things. What might happen? We might have the student who is remarkably lucky, works really hard on linear programming, and linear programming comes up. Works really hard on short-term decision making, that comes up. Works hard on transfer pricing, and that comes up. Works hard on TQM, and that comes up. All these things. So what's going to happen? Everything, and again, this one, everything that was studied actually was chosen by the examiner. You get 100%. Now, if that's how your luck goes, what I've been saying is that perhaps you should buy a lottery ticket at the same time, and then you can give it all up, because that's super luck, yeah? And you know, if somebody comes back from an exam and says, I got 100%, I'm the best management accountant that there's ever been, right? They say, well done, yeah? And of course, us as lecturers, when they come to us and say, I got 100%, as an accounting lecturer, what do? You say, well, you were remarkably well taught. That's all down to me and how I teach management accounting. I must be the best management accounting lecturer in the world, right? Now, the other thing that might happen, again, assuming no mistakes are made when the student's answering the questions, is they get 57%. So there's 30 things that they've studied that haven't come up. Only 40 have. Still a pass, but now this person, or these two people, their employer, their manager's looking at them thinking, that one's brilliant, and that one, oh, just about. But they did the same work beforehand, just on different topics. That's not fair, right? I don't think it's fair. If we had objective testing, then the score would be 70%. It would reflect the learning and the work that's in there, so it's completely fair. Take somebody else who only works 45%, right? So this is the person who comes in late to work, gets through to lunchtime, does a bit of work, having done work through the morning, then after lunch spends the time on Facebook and on Angry Birds and Candy Crush and Farmville and all the rest of it. You don't want that person working for you, do you? But that person might pass a 50% exam based on the luck of the draw. Again, it is somebody else who would probably be better off buying a lottery ticket because at some point they're going to damage the business. Okay? But they could pass. They could do even better than the person who worked to 70% proficiency. Yeah? that's more likely, but again, look at the range of possible scores, which then says it depends on luck, and like I've said before, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's how we should be assessing people through their exams. I don't think anyone should be doing that. We want to say, here's a score that reflects your competence, the amount of effort you put in, the quality of learning that you undertook. So that's why objective testing is, for us, the way forward. All right? So, just to summarise and draw this session to a close, just finish with the objective testing. Yeah, what I've said, it is rigorous, it is comprehensive in that it covers all learning outcomes of the syllabus. And I said, the thing that's not written up there, it's fair. It is fair. What we'll see after a break, I'll set up one of the practice exams so we can go through and see what's in there and how the objective testing is engaging. There's a variety of question types. Most people assume that objective testing is multiple choice, and that means that anyone can guess their way through and get 25%. All right? We're going to have questions that have complete a sentence. All right? They won't involve people typing in the words, because we know there may be keystroke errors and spelling errors and things like that, and our systems aren't sophisticated enough yet to accept that. But we'll have, so here's a box of 10 words, here's a sentence about something to do with management accounting with 4 gaps. Get the right words into the gaps. We've got questions, and there's quite a lot of these already at the certificate level, where it just says, what is 4 times 8? So you type in any number, so it's not multiple choice, there's an infinite number of entries. You could put 123,986 in there if you wanted. 4 times 8, put in 32, you get the mark, put in 33, you don't. All right? Well, depending on how complicated the working is, there would be a margin of error. But if it was just what's 4 times 8, we wouldn't do that. Hotspot is looking through a test, or looking through an image and finding, and just clicking on the point that is relevant. It may be a graph, it may be, as you'll see in an illustration, a table of figures, just to spot the one that's correct. It's a different way of looking really at multiple choice. Multiple answer, we'll see a few of these. These are the toughest ones, I think. These are the ones that allow us to say that we're getting rigorous testing of knowledge and ability right up to the strategic level. Because what this will be, there'll be a list of 6 things. And the question up there will say, which of the following is correct, or is appropriate, or whatever. So it doesn't tell you whether there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So you have to use this analytical judgment to say, that statement looks correct, so I'll click that. That one doesn't. That does, doesn't. So you've clicked 2, right? You don't know whether there were 2 or 3 or 4. You think that one could be right, but it might not be right. I need to think about this. Reread the question. Think about that learning outcome and judge whether to put that one in or not. Because then in a question like this, if it's written that there were 3 correct answers, that, and that, if you tick that and that and left that, you don't get the mark. If you've clicked that and that and that only, you get the mark. If you also click that, you don't get the mark. So you might have identified the 3 correct things, but made a mistake with a 4th, you don't get the mark. So that the test I'm going to go through doesn't actually have something like that. We can break it down and say which 2 of the following, or which 3 of the following. That's slightly more helpful, and that's more evident at the operational and management level. All right, so there's these different types, and we do have multiple choice questions, and the multiple choice questions, they're slightly more straightforward. There's one thing in here which is correct, find it. Yeah. So at operational, there's more of those. At strategic, there's fewer. Okay, so the test is done on the computer. It's marked by the computer. I should have changed this phrase. We're looking into, we're still finalising the result and the feedback. We're working with Pearson VUE, who are global experts in electronic assessment delivery and design. And they're still working with our exams department about how we get the result back. So it might not be like they've got a certificate just now. There might be a period where we review people's performance and get results back to them after a week or two, just to make sure that we're doing the assessment fairly. And it's consistent with CFA, for one, massive financial analyst body. They do their testing by objective, by multiple choice. They do it on a set date, and it takes 6 weeks or something before people get the result, which is quite unusual if you think, hang on, it's all multiple choice, one correct answer, why can't you get the result out immediately? Well, they go through a rigorous process which Pearson VUE are consulting with us on whether we do that. But there'll be a result very, very soon after the exam. There won't be the 8-week wait which we've currently got for the paper-based exams to be marked and returned. Okay, it's time for us to have a break, and then we will come back and I'll walk you through a practice exam just to show you some of the features of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a 15 minutes break. Please be back in the room by 10:05 AM. Thank you.